Hello, I'm live. Hey Judy, how's it going? Oops, trying to get this better here. There we go. That works good for now. For the moment, let's see. One other thing I need because I'm in a public building and I don't want to talk too loudly. So, why are you doing that, Simon? Hello. What happened there? Hmm, I do not know. Okay, well, this baby is going right there. I don't know how long it's going to last like that. I'll forget it's there and end up pulling it off, no doubt. No doubt about it. So, what time is it? 3 more minutes, and then we are good to go. Okay. Huh. Hello, Elizabeth. Oh, this is going to be a very interesting story. That is for sure. you know, there are some people there are some people on this earth that are gifted with the wildest imaginations. And I think I found two of them right here in good old Ellicott City. Actually, the uh, the author of this book and the illustrator live across the road. Why is this acting like it's going to cut off? Come on, really? Why is it doing that? It goes dark and it's not supposed to do that. Not at all. It's something new. Hmm, okay. So who we got? Hey, hello, everyone. Well, Pray and Carl and Elizabeth and Judy. Glad to see you guys. This is going to be fun. This is from a fun location also, for sure. It's raining outside. So it was one of those deals this morning where I had to decide, am I going, staying? What am I going to do? Normally, I would be doing this tour. Should probably put it on the other side. Normally, I'd be doing this tour outside, sitting at a picnic table or on a bench somewhere. Um, and on a bench somewhere. Nope, I didn't mean to do that. Good golly. But as I said, it's raining and it's wet. So I thought about just staying home and sitting in my rocking chair and doing this, but then I had a brainstorm. Okay, well, anyway, it's 12:30. Hello to everybody in the sound of my voice. um, I'm Sharon Schultz, also known as the Bay Lady, and I live around the Baltimore area, Chesapeake Bay. It's like playground basically, and so goodness, and so I don't. Oh, I didn't mean to hit that either. I have to keep touching my screen because you know how like when you've got your phone on a timer and it starts back and it starts to go away. Oh gosh, there we go. And it it'll like reduce the lighting. It'll start to go dark before it turns off. That's what this keeps doing, and that's a first. It's never done that before. There's always something, isn't there? Okay. Anywho, so I I have been around for a while. I used to work for Hago, and then they crashed. So now you can find me on YouTube and on Facebook and on Together Virtually. And I think that's probably about right. Anyway, and so what that means is that I'm all over the place having a good time. My tours are tip-based, which means that's the only no income that I get. There we go. Is from the generosity of the folks who enjoy my tours and show up. So anyway, today today is extra special. Um, for those of you that don't know, Ellicott City, Maryland is the most haunted place in the country. You know, some say one of the most. No, I believe in it. I say it's the most haunted place because it has an overabundance of paranormal activity on a daily basis at any given time, which is just insane. And so, I think that, the stories that they have here are just, I mean, they're based on history. The ghost stories are. This town is old. It was incorporated in 1771, 1772, like around there. So it's been around. This town has experienced many, many things. It's the home of the first railroad station, and with that railroad station brought so many changes and opportunities to uh, to the people, the townspeople, and the town grew. Civil War came, devastated it. They had their fair share of you know fires and floods and things of that nature. So yeah, I believe in the stories. But today, oh, Elizabeth, let me see. Hey, everybody. Hi, guys. No, I haven't been hot air ballooning recently, but I'm going to go like as soon as the weather gets a little better. My, oh no, go back. Gosh, darn it. My son's got me a balloon flight, like an actual up in the air, see a flight, no tethering. So that will be very cool when I get there. But back to this. I am sitting in the Syriana Cafe, actually. Um, it has some interesting food, Mediterranean, inspired. It's very good. And anyway, I like this particular place because it used to be a general store back in the day. This is one of the buildings that, have been standing for a long time. And stop doing that. Have been standing for a long time. And it's been many things. And now, as I said, it's the Syriana Cafe. It's 4 stories, and 3 stories are where you can sit, eat. I'm in a little lounge area. There's a dining room across the way there. It's just all these little kind of nooky things here to sit. And also, this too has its share of ghost stories. The most prevalent one that is associated with this building is just below on the next floor. There's a balcony, and folks, I really apologize. See, I'm afraid if I let it go dark, it'll like just shut off. I don't know why it's doing this. I probably need to reboot the phone, but I can't right this minute. So anyway, any suggestions would be appreciated. I am not a technical whiz. Sorry, can't do. Mm. So anyway, the guy, there must have been a fight, an argument, something. It's still a mystery. Nobody knows how or why this man fell off the balcony on the second floor onto the street and was gone. So I don't know exactly, what happened. but it is said he's part of the Ellicott City Ghost Collection. It's been said that he um, comes back and replays. It replays. The thing about replaying, that's not the only instance where an actual event is replayed in a spiritual, spirited like way. Has to do with the granite that everything here is built on, the granite hills, 7 of them surrounding Ellicott City. And the water. The water comes right down the middle. I'll tell you what, the water is running today too. I saw it walking over here. It's a raging little river. I'll have to post some pictures of it later on. But yeah, it's really cool to be here in this little place, right? Anyway, let's get to it. This is the zombie snowmen of Ellicott City. More stories of the icy undead. Ta-da. There we go. Lola. I wonder, I think I might move this a hair and try something a little different. I brought my taller stand so I could do this. And what, now you're not going to turn for me? There you go. So why are you fading out? Pray tell. I don't like that. Ah, I need to find a place to touch it where it doesn't do that. Okay. Let's see. You need to come down a bit. Yeah. All right. I'm going to see how well this works. I don't know. Let's find out. This book is by Jerry Lee Harlow, illustrated by his buddy Wiley Perkay. And both gentlemen live in Catonsville, or they did at the time of these books, at any rate. Um, so this one is continues the stories about Ellicott City and the different buildings and areas and stuff. This book is actually thicker than the first one. So let me read you the back cover. In the second volume, the author and his sharp zombie research staff, working with the printing team at Patapsco Falls Press and cheesemongers, Ellicott City, have dug even deeper into the legends that surround the unfocused phantasm linked to the zombie snowmen legend. To the logical, focused mind, there is a definite implausibility of something so spectral and amorphous, centered within an area defined as no more than a few miles up and down. Oh my God. Oh, okay. Did you guys lose the picture? Hey, Sarah, did you guys lose the picture? Because it went out here. My phone went out. That's what I was talking about. It's acting like it's not recognizing that it's doing this. I don't. Anyway, all right. So, um, this continued look into the stories of the icy undead had its detractors, especially from those who want Ellicott City to be seen only as an ideolotic small town America, not telling the truth of these creatures who have nothing more than a tasty brain served fresh and quivering in a nicely cracked open skull. Okay. Now, before I read the stories, just a brief reminder. Um, the reason these guys wrote this, as I said, Ellicott City's the most haunted place in America. And the Howard County Tourist Bureau makes quite a killing on on ghost tours. They run them year round on a regular basis, several of them, and there's a fee, that you pay to go. So they're making some good bucks off of that. So these guys, this whole thing is like a sarcastic response to the normal hauntings. Okay, this is them trying to be, take some of the focus from that. And I don't know how well these books were distributed. I don't know if they're on Amazon or what. I found them in a local store down the street. So we'll see. It did throw. Okay, see, that's oh boy. All right, so I have to read and keep watching the screen too. Boy, I'll tell you what. I'm all right. This one is called Kiampa's Last Stand. Ciampa, okay, in the year 1898. Oh gosh. Mm-mm-mm. In the year 1898, Colonel Giuseppe Ciampa of the Ellicott City Zombie Home Guard and 12 of his finest volunteers, recently released from Spring Grove in Catonsville, made their first and last stand at the old Angelo Castle. Colonel Gussie, as his troops call him, um, was a recent immigrant to the U.S. and, as such, had absolutely no idea about the real threat of the icy undead in Ellicott City. He wondered why no Americans would do the job of colonel and why they relied on an immigrant to do all these wonderful things. Mr. Ciampa was promoted to colonel of the Home Guard without ever being a private. He was given a bright blue uniform with a gold braid and a nice cavalry sword, previously the property of Ellicott City citizen who just joined the Confederate Army. To top it off, the shiny new colonel of the Home Guard was promised a salary of 1,000, whoops, $200, $1,200 United States dollars a year. That was pretty darn good for an immigrant Italian goat herder from the Italian Alps, he thought. He even had a nice hotel room, all expenses paid, with a shared toilet just down the hall. Normal hauntings, yeah, yeah. The stories that there's a lot of money. You're not kidding. Yeah, because there's a lot of stories. Look, there are so many haunted stories that when I do the actual haunted tours, there's three of them. I've divided them up in three. 3 hours worth. I can't. You know, that's too much all at once, right? Okay, back to the story. All right, so your nice hotel room, all expenses paid, with a shared toilet just down the hall. Well, the colonel thought he had died and gone to heaven. He even went to Mass at St. Paul's Catholic Church to give confession in his native language to the Italian priest. When Colonel Giuseppe asked the Ellicott City sheriff who had hired him about the zombie, what it was and all that, there was but a small response. The sheriff said something to the effect, all will be revealed in time. Hmm. All will be revealed in time. There was trust there, Gussie assured himself, and further questions would not come because he knew the sheriff was very busy handling drunks, horse thieves, and troublemaking boys from what was called the West End. The sheriff told the colonel that in February, the Home Guard always celebrated their success by having a large outdoor party around a brightly glowing fire up at the old Angelo Castle. Footnote, Angelo Castle is one of the old buildings here with ghost stories. It's the one where the ghost is an artist and the house is a rooming house, and any non-artist roomers were kicked downstairs to the dungeon and out the door to fall to their death into the Patapsco River, as the story goes. That's Angela's castle. Okay, so um, food and drink would be supplied, and the sheriff's department would join them later when it came time to clean up the mess of the party. Giuseppe was happy, beyond happy, and would have written back to Italy about his great success in America if there had been someone to write to. Poor guy. Uh, it seems that all of his relatives died in an avalanche about the same time he boarded the ship to America. That's sad. When Colonel and his zombie house guard came to Angelo's castle, a few was already burning out back. Benches were, a fire was already burning out back. Benches were set out, as were large bottles of whiskey and steaming hot hams for the taking. What a party this would be! And it didn't take long before the troops were sloppy, whiskey drunk, and ham fattened. Great description, yay? As the last trooper passed out, Giuseppe had a chill. Oh no, oh no, there you are. Okay. Had a chill run up his back. He, let's see, he thought he had seen something. He thought all was not quite right. He thought he had caught glimpses of light things dashing through the heavy forest around the property, just out of full sight from the glowing of the dying fire. The cold and the whiskey deepened the sleep of the guard members, the sleep of soon to be dead men. A tree branch snapped, then several more. And the men became fewer and fewer as Giuseppe twisted time and time again to make sense of the swirl around him, and just that the fog of snow settled to the ground. On the other side of the nearly dead fire was a snowman. The colonel was dazed. What the heck was a snowman doing here? Giuseppe felt another chill run up his neck and then watched in astonishment as the top of his skull went flying away from his head. The next morning, the sheriff, his men, and some town volunteers gathered at the hotel restaurant and warmed themselves with lots of coffee, scrambled eggs, and bacon. The sheriff was interested in the reports about Spain's brutal repercussions to halt the rebellion going on in Cuba, and read all the sensational reports in the early morning paper. With the coffee and food warming their bellies, the men trudged up the hill to Angelo's castle. The fire pit was still puffing smoke and glowing, but the Italian immigrant colonel and his men were gone. Hmm. Warren, a volunteer, found the top of a human skull and returned it to Sheriff Wolf. The skull was looked at and quickly placed in a gunny sack for later disposal. Apart from the skull top, some frozen blood and some unidentifiable gore, there remained nothing of the 1898 Ellicott City Zombie Home Guard. Uh, Interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right. Next up. Okay. This is called Death from Above. Oops. And what you see there is a photograph of The old mill, which the town, which was the heart of the town, it was what, brought income and jobs and made the town able to prosper. So it's still here. It's down at the foot of Main Street, across from the railroad station. It's on the other side of the Patapsco River, and it's abandoned. It's not used, but it still stands. Okay, death from above. There was a time back before the fire that can. All right, let me start over. There was a time back before the fire that completely destroyed the mill that the workers would take lunch breaks outside the building, standing along the towering silos and drinking coffee, eating sandwiches, or smoking. It was a great place to gossip, talk sports and girls, or for new lovers to pretend that they were just friends. The silos afforded some protection from the cold and the wind of winter, and a good spot for those folks who just did not want to be in the mill 1 minute longer than they had to be. This was the case even in the deepest cold of winter, be it for a smoke or a secret kiss. One late January morning, a mechanic snuck out of the factory to grab a load of nicotine in a 3 cigarette binge. This was his standard smoke break, as he called it, but the foreman called it cheating and was always within minutes of firing Buck. But good old Buck had the trump card every time there was a confrontation because he was so darn good at what he did. If it was mechanical and needed fixing, well, Buck would do it. He knew his value and knew the company would need to hire 2 or 3 people to provide the knowledge and the skill that he possessed and possessed alone in the mill. Buck was wrapped tightly, warmly in his wool coat, pulling hard with his lungs on his first cigarette, and then his consciousness ceased. He was dead, and no one knew it. It was not until the next morning a mill worker coming across the river at the train bridge noticed a body snagged on a tree branch leaning over above the icy water. Hey, Ronnie Lynn. Hey, Sarah. Hey, guys. How y'all doing? Okay. So, Buck was brainless. Most of his bones were broken, and his $5 gold piece was still in his pocket. That coin had been intended as passage to a good time in one of the Ellicott city taverns. The tavern he liked best always had a good mix of men with money and women without, a fluid situation that changed with time and levels of intoxication. During his official investigation, the sheriff confiscated the coin as evidence and then saw to its proper disposition in service to a policeman's party the following spring. The mill foreman noticed the blood splattered about the base of the silo where Buck must have gone to end his time on this earth. Mixed in with the gore was a carrot snapped in two, shards of ice, which he dismissed as nothing, as had the sheriff when he momentarily looked at the scene. All the mess would be cleaned up with time, spring rains, and the mill rats processing the human debris. Early that spring, a hobo Irishman named O'Malley, who made his home in and around the train station near the abandoned turntable related to a passenger who was awaiting the 4:05 p.m. to Baltimore that he'd seen a flying snowman back in the winter. Well, at least it was falling from the top of the silo onto the ground below. Irritated with the smell of a ripe drunk and the lateness of the train, the grumbling passenger swatted the drink with his case and said, "Begone, scoot," having consumed as much alcohol as he could by that point in the tale. Um, By that point in the tale, O'Malley stumbled away, blathering about a gang of snowmen gathering at the silo, dragging off a large sack towards the river, and building another snowman without a carrot nose. O'Malley the drunk was never seen again in Ellicott City. So, hmm, let's see. Is there one about this house? Oh, this one's good. Okay, this one, the slaughter at Hill Street. Okay, Hill Street is just up the hill. It's to the right, going up the street. All right, you're whatever, but yeah, and this is Hill Street, and it definitely does that. It definitely goes up a hill. Okay, all right, here we go. All right, the slaughter at Hill Street. Hold. Ooh, ah, my butt's getting. There we go. All right, I got to shift position. I think just for a sec. Okay, is that no? Then you can't see this. Oh, must no. Okay, sorry. Indecisiveness, right? Right. All right, here we go. You know what? It's getting dark in here. I can see better this way, but you can't see really. Um, well, I can turn it this way, but it doesn't help you guys. What do you guys want to look at? I know you don't want to look at me. That's crazy. You want to, oh, I know. Look out. Well, you can't see anything out the window either. um, that's the rest of the room. Oh, there you go. You can look at those pretty tapestries behind me, whatever they are. Something. At the corner of Hill and Main Streets, the residence of Mr. Rankin, who stepped out of his, oh, that's a little bit better, who stepped out of his stone duplex home to investigate the small snowman. Uh-oh, this doesn't sound good. To investigate the small snowman that apparently someone had built on the corner. Well, what light there was that came from low on the horizon, behind the trees and hill just up the street from behind a mass of gray, swirling clouds ripping through the late February afternoon. Sunday supper was cooking, and soon Martha's wonderful vegetable soup would warm his belly. So Rankin stepped in and closed the door. Thinking the snowman odd, Mr. Rankin thought it was awfully risky for kids to be out in the deadly cold of the day. Even his fireplace was nearly insufficient to fight back the cold. Um, to fight back the cold, driven as it was by the swirling wind. But still, Mr. Rankin opened the door and braved the cold to see about the snowman. He decided quite quickly that it was ugly and didn't deserve to remain on the corner. And besides, Christmas and the holidays were gone, and he didn't want to bother with more winter foolishness. Quickly, Rankin pushed the snowman into the street, wishing that, come morning, the next passing wagon would run over the stupid snow thing and be done with it. He failed to take note that the snowman did not fall apart as it hit the frozen turnpike road. Oh, so later that evening, around 7:30, Rankin looked out into the night and noticed the snowman was once again on the corner. He left the little warmth of his house and, leaving the door ajar, leaving the door ajar, went quickly slept out into the cold to investigate. He left. He had met his end at some point after shouting back to his wife, "I'm busting up that darn snowman so the kids can't rebuild it again." Less than 5 minutes later, Mrs. Rankin came out to investigate, quickly stepped out into the cold, and saw her husband dead in the snow. Her life ended with a squeak of a scream as she fainted and froze to death within minutes. The Rankins were discovered the next morning, grotesquely twisted in the gutter. The house was open and cold, no fire in the fireplace. There was no evidence of what had happened to the two townsfolk, and the sheriff ruled the deaths accidental, explained Mr. Rankin's missing brains as being eaten by creatures of the night. The sheriff didn't know how right he was. In the early spring, the house and contents were sold at an auction, which covered the cost of the couple's burial on a nearby hill, with the balance going to the sheriff's department's fall turkey shoot and oyster roast. Dead Death was good for the living, apparently. You think you're now afraid of snowman? I'm telling you. But these guys, they're just the ingenuity that it took to come up with these crazy stories is just amazing, right? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Here's a good one. The Howard House Hotel. It's like maybe two houses up the street to the right. It's not a hotel. I think it's they do have some apartments rented on the upper floors, and there are some shops on the first floor. This building, just a side note, this building, it has the front door here, right? This is the first level. Well, all the way up top, there's a door on the back of the house that opens onto a road. And actually, there's all three levels open on different streets up the house. So we used to cut through it when I worked at the courthouse on our lunch hour because it was a faster way to get down Main Street from Courthouse Hill. Oh, here's a little extra thing for you. Yes, this does look charming. Once it was, oh my God, once it was under the management of what I call a slumlord. The place was, and people, so were the people that lived there. Anyhow, okay, let me read this. See how charming this story is, shall we? All right, here we go. The Howard House Hotel. Throughout time, as long as there have been intoxicating brews, men have staggered home from their local cave, hovel, or inn after having their fill of the local swill. Doubtless there have been untold numbers of men who have not completed their journey haven't met their fate as a meal for a polar bear, a pack of wolves, or being rounded up by an impressment gang for the Royal Navy. Whatever their fate, little has been written of these missing merrymakers beyond what may have been mentioned in the local paper or the beating of the drums along the Mohawk. No doubt this was also the case on January 17th of 1887 when three men, well fortified by drink against the slicing wind and crystallizing snows, decided to leave the tavern in the Howard House Hotel and make their way further down Main Street to Miss Vicky's comfort room and beer joint. As they stepped out onto the porch, all three paid little attention to the three snowmen on the porch along the railing. The only real attention was that of the smallest man, who had a small bladder and decided that the snowmen offered a good place to urinate, providing, as they did, some protection from the wind. The hotel did have an outhouse out back, but the frozen mess therein would be a greater threat to life and limb than the front porch and the silly snowmen. Inside the tavern, the remaining drunks, huddled close to the fireplace, heard muffled sounds out front, but it was too difficult to make out the noise with the wind, crackling fire, and snoring of two passed out patrons. They would all be staying the night with this terrible weather, with the shutters being closed down tight. The only way to see outside was to open the door, which only one stranger did, and was quickly rebuked and spat at, as it was just too damn cold to open any doors or windows. It was in that instant, move you over a bit here, I'm needing the light. It must be still raining, I suppose. Heck. La, la, la. All right. Okay. So it was in the instant that the door was opened and then slammed shut for the night that the stranger, a man with one eye, the right one having been left at Gettysburg back in 1863, and sporting a beard of Rip Van Winkle glory, glimpsed out the street with, hold on, glimpsed out the street with his with his blurred left eye, and perceived to see three men being dragged down the road, each one by a snowman. It was insane, he thought, and he fought to make sense of it with another three whiskeys before he also found the comfort of the floor not too far from the fireplace. The morning brought a brilliant sun into the northern sky. The one-eyed stranger left a dollar coin on the bar and then made his way to the outhouse, but quickly changed his mind when viewing the frozen mess of dozens of men. Backing away, he decided to hold himself until he gained the woods on the other side of the river as he made his way to Baltimore, another 10 miles east. There were no drag marks in the frozen street. The ice was too hard to mar, and now the sun was too bright to allow one to look into its reflections. The Patapsco Bridge was gained quickly, and as he left the cover of its roof, he spotted another snowman near the Oella Road, not far from the old tavern down there. Although he wasn't terribly cold, a shiver shot up and down his spine. So he moved smartly to pass the thing there next to the roadway, but then heard the laughter of kids, followed by the sting of a hail of snowballs. Again, he quickened his pace and was soon out of range of the small arms tossing the snow and ice. You guys good? Okay. As he gained the 9 Mile hill and the toll house, he stopped to speak with the toll man who was drinking his coffee outside and enjoying the sun. Where is my enjoying the sun and the snapping cold air? Before he could say a word, the toll man said, "Can I get your coffee, mister?" The stranger noticed the man was wearing a great coat of gray, but he welcomed the offer of the fresh hot brew. "You a Reb?" he asked. "Yep, way back then, and now I suppose," Jeremiah, the tall man, replied. "Come now, the war's over, and some coffee and some bacon greased bread may be exactly what you need." After hearing the stories, Noah decided to wait until a thaw to continue his winter march to Baltimore. The tall man let him stay for company and for chopping firewood. 3 days later, a thaw began, and one-eyed Noah, no longer a stranger, but now frightened of snowmen, got a free ride to the Baltimore toll gate, where he melted into the population of the city and never returned to Ellicott City again. Hey, you know what? Maybe we ought to invent some and send them out to the bars. What do you think? Interesting. That could work. Okay, let's see. What else looks good? Oh, here we go. This is interesting. What's funny is these are, all actual places, so it's kind of funny, really. Okay, this one. How about the snowmen at St. Paul's Church? St. Paul's Church is up on the hill. It's pretty pretty huge, pretty massive. It sits on the hill that's by the railroad station. So, and it's really really nice from up there. It's a great view too. So I have to go up there one day, right? Right. Okay. All right. The snowman at St. Paul's. Is that still hanging up? Yeah, okay. The first Mass at the brand new St. Paul's Catholic Church in Ellicott Mills was on Thursday, the 13th of December, 1838. It was an unusually cold and bitter late autumn's day, thick gray clouds swirling about and seeming quite close to scraping the tops of Ellicott Mills' 7 hills. With temperatures rising no higher than 32 degrees, but feeling much colder with the cutting wind, Mass was celebrated by Father Coskery. There was also the baptism of the very first Catholic child in town. As everyone departed the church that afternoon, there was a very large snowman next to the door, standing, it was reported, some 7 feet high. The surly giant of a snowman had large coal eyes that seemed to move about, but were never fully witnessed moving. The light from the clouded sky above was dying quickly, as here, and the last few people were leaving the church. Mr. Bernard Campbell and his friend, the Reverend Mr. White, along, oops, the Reverend Mr. White, let's see, along with along with Campbell's wife and their just baptized daughter Mary. Both the men commented on the snowmen, with Mr. Campbell commenting that maybe it was a prank played by the Protestant community, who did not like the Baltimore City Papist people setting up a church in their town. With the door closed and locked, all retreated to the street below and then over to Main Street, where Mr. Campbell and his household staff um, were preparing supper. It was during the main chorus that Mrs. Campbell noted that she left a scarf that had dear sentimental connections in the church. Even the snowman, you got it. Yeah, I thought that was kind of cute too. Snowman, St. Paul's Church. Okay, let's see what happens to the snowman. Okay, so during the main course, she left her scarf at church and she asked her husband to help. So he handed over his key to the front door of the church to Jacob, a teen boy servant, and told him to scurry over to retrieve the object for Mrs. Campbell. An hour passed and Jacob didn't return. Mr. Campbell and Reverend White headed outside in the brittle cold up the hill to the church where the young man had been sent. In the front door was the key unturned and a small amount of blood, just barely enough to be seen in the lantern light. It was also noticed by the Reverend that the large snowman was gone, and maybe this was all related. The Reverend shared his thoughts that maybe the nearby gang of Awella abolitionists had stumbled across Jacob at the church as they came to tear down the snowmen. The Reverend further speculated that the Protestants had convinced Jacob to run away, which he embraced and complied with eagerly. Mr. Campbell and Reverend White agreed there was no further recourse that evening, save retrieving the key and getting back to a warm house and a hot supper. A day later, Jacob's body was found frozen in the river on the Oella side, but very little was said by anyone. The poor lad's skull had been twisted open, and um, his brains were missing, but he was otherwise unmolested. The Anne Arundel County Sheriff took statements, made a report, properly filed it, and moved on to the next case, that of a 12-year-old horse thief. A funeral mass was said for Jacob and his shrouded body, buried above town in the early spring outside the Ellicott graveyard in common land in an unmarked grave. Whew, poor dude. Poor dude. Really, really, really. Okay. Let's see. See, I can't read all of them because there's just so many. But um, which is cool because then it makes for more tours and they're not repetitive. So here's oh my goodness, here's a cute one. Oh my goodness. These guys and their imagination, right? Right. Zombie radar detection. That's the name of this one. Check out the picture, right? Zombie radar detection. Yeah. I bet if you Google these authors, you would find the books. It is Jerry Lee Harlow, Harlow. He's the author, and illustrated by Wiley, Wiley Purkey, Purkey. Wiley Purkey. Okay, zombie radar detection. Here we go. This should be interesting. As of late 2018, a current story, and early 2019, A few super secret zombie miniature radars have been placed at several super secret spots along the Patapsco River, as well as suspected zombie snowman trails within the river valley. All this was done by a government unit so secret that no one even knows the initials. However, this reporter believes the code name is ZAP, ZAP, all caps, which is supposed to stand for Zombie Abatement Project. Now, the reason for all this hush hush is supposedly when the Owella cotton mill was being converted to condo apartments, a 15-story basement was bored into the solid granite rock to create a nuclear blast proof bunker, a presidential safe house in case North Korea went full tilt dog eating crazy on the US. At that time, the president, Congress, and their favorite Michelin five-star chefs would need to skip out of Washington, D.C. really quickly. So, with all that investment, it is important that none of it be compromised by zombie snowmen feasting on the brains of guards and low level congressional staffers. As for the radar, although zombie snowmen do not have a radar cross section due to their watery composition, their movements leave a trail of snow crystals that are reflective by their very nature. The ice crystals are the best way of tracking the zombie snowmen. With the ice crystal tracking, the data can be put into the NSA's supercomputer, the Super Perk, running a super secret program that I have discovered to be coded by the PearlSoft Computer Design Works in Catonsville, with the design parameters coming out of the Luna Department of Algorithms. How exciting. As this story continues to unfreeze, I and my colleagues at the Patapsco Woods Press and Cheesemongers will provide you with all the latest information via our new app, only $29.95 monthly, as the radar brings needed early snowmen attack warnings to Ellicott City. Cool, right? How is that? Okay. Well, I think that we'll stop here and save the rest for later. And I am going to unplug. I hope. Maybe not. Hold on. I'm going to take the stand off here and switch the camera around and give you like a little tour of this old house. All right. Here's my lunch, by the way. If you want to check it out, seasoned fries, um, a salad kind of in vinaigrette, and a wrap chicken, Mediterranean seasoned chicken. Very cool. Okay, so here's the stairs going down. Beautiful tapestries. Okay, and here's where you come up. There's the nice little sitting room where I parked myself. There's another floor going up, but that's not open to the public. Beautiful tapestries and things. Oh, these are purses. They sure are. Oh, or makeup bags. They're zipper cases. Isn't that neat? Very cool. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. I have to do something with this phone, darn it. Okay, it's kind of dark up here. I don't have the lights on, but here's more tapestries. I guess that's what they are. Something to do with Syria. Do they have a lot of tapestries in Syria? This is a nice little table. Look how comfy those chairs are. Can you imagine? And look, see, this is what I'm talking about. We are in a multi-level. Okay, we're in the top floor or next to the top floor of this house. You see out the window? That's the entrance, another level that comes out here on the hill. Right? That's what I'm talking about. It's got a nice little patio back there and such. But yeah, all these different levels make the architecture here just so unique. You know? I mean, look at oh, yeah, there we go. Look at the church up there. It's like on the edge, right? But look at that solid granite. See, that's what this place is made of. Granite. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And you've got more tapestries here. And another little table. There's another room, more of the same. They've got some customers in there, so I'm not going to go in there. But it's empty here, right? And then I'll give you a little look at Main Street from the window here. You know how you're seeing. Oh, there we go. There's some of the Main Street shops, right? And there's the balcony where the guy jumped. The name of the home. Oh my goodness! Now you're gonna make me draw a blank. Try Ellicott's Country Store. It was that at one point. Ellicott's Country Store, and it should be um, on the historical register, definitely. Um, what else? I was going to say, yeah, it was Ellicott's Country Store, and now it is the Syriana Cafe. It did have a name at one point where it was named after the original owner, I do believe, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was. But Google it. Um, Probably if you Google it, you'll see. And yeah, this is a haunted house. This balcony down there, some guy took a nosedive off of it, pushed, fell, suicide, nobody knows, but he went off the balcony into the street and died. And so he's apparently, here still complaining. I haven't seen him though. So look at this skinny staircase. Oh, they got storage and stuff up there. Interesting. Very interesting. So, my friends, that was fun, yes? All right. So, I am going to turn the camera around again. Okay. There I am. Hey. Okay, so um you guys are very welcome, and we're still in the winter time here, so watch out for those zombie snowmen. See you guys. Bye.